And that is how they got to 8-2 with that win yesterday in Tampa Bay. Tom Giles, Tommy Curran, Phil Perry. Trenni Casey joining us as well. Trenni, I'll give you first crack at this one. Your biggest takeaways from the Patriots win over Tampa.
I think my biggest takeaway was that even on a day where they didn't play their best football, they still found a way to win. And they did it in like a myriad of ways, right? Like you have two rookies who stepped up in the absence of Kayshon Boutte and Ramondre Stevenson. You had, of course, Kyle Williams and Travion Henderson. You had the defense. When you needed a big stop, they got you a stop. When Drake May had to make a play, he made a play. It didn't look perfect, but they got it done. And that's what good teams do, at least in my estimation. You know, if you're good, you find ways to win.
Thomas?
Just a great complimentary win. As Trenni pointed out, you know, it wasn't the best day, but it's rainy. You're on the road. You're against a team that has a very good defense that plays a specific style that's going to make it difficult on you. But soup to nuts. Defensively, after the first drive, they did a tremendous job, made things difficult for Baker Mayfield. And then when May, as Trenni pointed out, had to make a play, 3rd and 14, a 54-yard play to Mac Hollins to set up the field goal that gave them the gap. And then, you know, to see them bounce back defensively from that pick that could have been really damaging, I think was big. And then to see Stephon Diggs, you know, one of your best players, to make that securing recovery on the onside kick, it is a soup to nuts kind of win.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, soup to nuts, everybody in that locker room, it feels like, is making contributions to win a game like that one. And that, to me, is what you have to love if you're Mike Vrabel, because this was not solely driven by the quarterback who's playing like the most valuable player in football. Tom mentions that last 4th down play. It's Jalen Hawkins, who's sort of a little bit of a journeyman special teamsy safety who comes up and makes a heads-up tackle at the end of the game. Craig Woodson makes a play in this game. Kyle Williams hadn't done anything this year, comes up with an explosive play. Elijah Ponder, Giles. I know he's your favorite undrafted rookie on the team, but there are a lot of people out there who don't know much about Elijah Ponder. He beat Tristan Wirfs, one of the best tackles in football, for a very key sack in the 4th quarter. So you're getting contributions from every corner of the locker room.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. It's, you know, Ben Drake May kind of carrying this team for most of the season and saying they're winning because that guy's playing at an MVP level, and we'll talk about that at some point. But this was everyone coming together, and also just having the quarterbacks back after he threw that interception, which, as you pointed out, Curran, that could have been bad news if Tampa Bay drives the field, scores the touchdown. Phil, you said on Thursday when we were sitting over there, that's set right over there.
I
you
remember.
said, yeah, Patriots win this game, they're officially Super Bowl contenders. Are they? Super Bowl contenders. They did win the game. You also said it had to be kind of
a convincing win, and that to me is a convincing win. I know it's a one-score game at the end of the day, but they're in the lead for the vast majority of that game. It felt like it was within their control for the vast majority of that game, and so that qualifies. They are in a small tier of teams, to me, that are true contenders right now. So Tom feels the definition of the words a little different, and they've been a playoff team for a long time, and anybody that's in has a chance. I get that part of it. But I think the way they're playing right now, to be at the top of the conference, to be 8-2, to have beaten two very good teams on the road in Buffalo and Tampa Bay, you have to include them in that conversation now as teams that could potentially win the thing.
How about Phil with the proactive rebuttal to me? Whatever point I'm going to make, he's going to get the rebuttal out.
It's in the holster, baby.
If you have the best quarterback in the AFC, and along with Matthew Stafford, the guy who's playing the best right now, and it's playing the best. I know he's not better than Patrick Mahomes, but his resume in 2025 makes him the best. And you have a team that's gone on the road and won in the conference, in the division, and then gone into the other conference and won on the road 10th week in a row, as Mike Vrabel pointed out. That's a long haul to not lay an egg since the Pittsburgh game. So to me, yeah, they're absolutely. If you're the best team in the conference and they're playing better than Indy right now, of course you're a Super Bowl contender.
Trenni, are they Super Bowl contenders? And if not, what more do they got to show you?
So they are, but I guess my little asterisk about them being Super Bowl contenders is that I think it's partially because of how the rest of the NFL is. It's wide open. Like we saw Buffalo get their doors blown off yesterday. You see Indy have to scrap back and win in overtime. So it's like no team. They're the only team, guys, at least the way I see it, who it's not really ever in doubt. Everybody else has had sort of that loss. Or that game where you look at and you scratch your head and say, is this really a good team? Are they for real? Like, to me, the Patriots, at least of maybe those second-tier teams, and what I think of as a second-tier team would be like the Jaguars, the Colts, and the Patriots, guys like that, not necessarily the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens. to me, they're the ones who've been playing the best. So if you're playing the best right now, I don't understand how you can't say they're not Super Bowl contenders. Although I do think you can find some flaws in their game that might make some people, especially on the national level, take pause.
Well, Kansas City and I think Baltimore's playing really well now that they have Lamar Jackson back. So not counting them out, I think they're right there in the mix with those two teams at the top of the conference. The Chargers are somewhere, maybe just a half step behind them. And the Bills are in timeout. The Bills are in timeout until they go ahead and they beat Tampa. They win their next couple of games, which I think are pretty tough for them. But speaking of the Patriots and how things are kind of shaking out, they now have the best odds to finish with the number 1 seed in the AFC. It's got a lot to do with their remaining schedule. Only 2 of their remaining 7 opponents have reached the 4-win mark, and those teams being the Bills, the Ravens. Although the Bengals may prove to be a tougher matchup. That Joe Burrow returned to practice in a limited role, so he's got 3 weeks to be activated. ESPN analyst Damian Woody still had this to say about the Patriots.
The road to the Super Bowl in the AFC is going through Foxborough.
Where have we heard that before?
Listen, it goes back to what I was saying about Buffalo. Yes. If my man Brewski was here, we'd be like, we're back. It's happening again.
All right. We also want to ask you at home what your thoughts are on the Patriots and what your expectations are for them this season, because obviously they should have changed based on where they were to start the year. But what is your expectation? Miss the playoffs, make the playoffs, win a playoff game, make the conference championship game, make the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. You got 6 choices there. You can go ahead and vote. Trenni, where are you voting right now? What's your expectation for this team the rest of the way?
Giles, I actually voted in this poll when I was on our website earlier, and I voted for win a playoff game. Because something Mike Vrabel said to me, or not said to me personally. Now it's like I'm having a conversation with him through the television. Something Mike Vrabel said caught my ear. And he said, you want to be playing your best football in November. And I would say that the last couple of weeks, I'm not sure that we've seen the Patriots' best football. They have found ways to win, which I'm not discounting that. That's how good teams advance. That's why they're a good team. But Drake May has shown some cracks. They have some injuries that are showing through that are happening. So that is what gives me a little bit of pause. They have to still go through inclement weather in November and December. And we saw Drake May struggle a little bit yesterday in the rain. So all of those little questions keep me from saying, yes, this is the team that's going to run the gauntlet and win a Super Bowl. But I do expect them to win a playoff game because they have become very adept at finding ways to win.
I think they're going to, I would expect them, the way they're playing right now, to be in the AFC Championship game. And I think at some point experience might win out and they will lose a game against a Kansas City or a Ravens team that has played in those kinds of games. But the Ravens haven't been to a Super Bowl. But I look at what they're doing and I don't see the flaws with this team and the way they're playing, especially relative to their competition. If we want to come up with roster flaws, the injuries that are plaguing Buffalo right now, the fact that Joe Burrow is not going to be back until Thanksgiving. He did start practicing, but he's targeting Thanksgiving. So to me, I would expect that they are a team that should be able to win. And if they just win a playoff game and they win the division, they're in the AFC Championship game.
Because you're saying they have a good chance to get in the first round bye.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that goes to just the number 1 seed. But as projected right there, based on the win totals, the Patriots seem to have what would be the path to having that number 1 seed.
That's an interesting part of this vote right now. So if you expect them to win a playoff game and they get the first round bye, now suddenly you're in the AFC Championship game. So listen, I guess I'm with Tom on that one. The word expect is just like a hair strong for me, because if you say expect, if then they don't do it, well, now it's a disappointment. And is that the case with the New England Patriots in 2025? If they don't make the AFC Championship game, will anybody here say it was a disappointing season? I mean, maybe
no, but you
based on
be disappointed on that Sunday.
Of course you could be disappointed in that game. I'm just saying, big picture, the expectations for this team were so low, and I don't want to try to play both sides of the fence here or make excuses for them. But to say if they don't make the AFC Championship game, now the season has become something less than, to me, is hard to swallow. That's all.
I'm going to win a playoff game. The one thing that's kind of quirky and weird here is that, Baltimore and Kansas City aren't going to be getting that first round bye, it doesn't feel like. So you could be facing them out of your bye, or you'd be facing them early in one of those playoff rounds, depending on how things shake out. So that could be interesting. All right, Tuesday at 6 p.m., catch another edition of the Patriots Talk podcast. Tommy Curran's got the latest on the Pats with Phil Perry as they get set to face the Jets on Thursday Night Football.